She's coming. We are going to go ahead and get started. Sally Edens will be joining us, but she's obviously going to be a little bit late. So I would like to call the November 13th, 2025 Surf City Planning Board meeting to order. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second it.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Okay, next, I need approval of the minutes from the October 9th, 2025 Surf City Planning Board meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, October 9th.
First and a second for the minutes approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, do we have anyone for public comment?
Ma'am.
No public comment. Okay. Okay, Jeremy, next, we will consider the items for presentation.
Let me get connected here. One housekeeping item for agenda item C. Everybody has an updated agenda at your, I had an error. I'm a perfectionist. I don't like typos, so I corrected it. It's in your agenda, so you'll see X on one sheet. It was a duplicate sheet, so I just wanted, when you get to that page, you'll understand why. But it's just, it was a oversight on my part, and I wanted to get it in front of you. Chris, is it showing up for you?
Yep, you're connected. I'm waiting for you to bring up the slideshow. I'm in.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Planning Board, item A is a conditional rezoning request submitted by Charles Riggs on behalf of Sumter LLC. This request is to rezone a property from C3 extended commercial to conditional zoning mixed use. Before you on the screen and in your agenda packet is the location at 101 Sea Oaks Drive. This is the corner of Sea Oaks and NC Highway 50. For you on the screen and same in your items is the future land use map, and why you look at that, the proposed use of this conditional zoning is a mixed use structure. It would have first floor of office and retail only, and the second and third floors would be 3 residential units. With this submittal on 0.29 acres, they have identified 3 conditions, one being the use type. First floor, again, limited to office and retail only. Second floor and third floor would be residential. The structure will have a sprinkler, fire sprinklers and alarm, and they will be making a cross connection to the adjacent Gilligan's property through there when they go through the site plan process, if the conditional rezoning is approved. Before you on the screen and in your packet is the future land use map. This property, along with all properties around it, are identified as neighborhood mixed use. The neighborhood mixed use zone or future land use supports mixed use developments by its nature. The intent is in your staff report. Now we'll read that here momentarily. Again, it's a mixed-use category allowing for the combination of residential and commercial uses that are in harmony with the adjacent area. The use itself, as proposed, even if it were allowed by right, does not trigger a traffic impact analysis by ordinance. It doesn't meet the 100 AM and 100 PM threshold. Before you on the screen is the zoning of the area. You'll see that the entire area is zone C3. However, this request is to rezone to a conditional mixed use. They are looking to benefit from the reduced setbacks in the mixed use district. However, as proposed in the conditional plan, The building would still meet that C3 setback further off of NC 50. Again, this is a conditional rezoning master plan. This is not a site plan approval. They would still need to go through site plan approval. Being that it's not over 20,000 square feet, it would be a staff level approval as long as they make no significant changes to the master plan. But with this, they've identified that they would be doing pervious concrete parking lot. They've identified the minimum parking required for a combination of office and retail at the bottom and residential on the top stories. And they indicate that they'll be using a subsurface stormwater controls. This would only have a driveway off of Sea Oaks. With all this said, staff and the TRC have reviewed it, and staff is recommending approval with policies 4.1Q and 5.1I, 5.1J, 5.1X, all being supportive of this request. Staff and the applicant are in attendance and be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
So this will only have access off of C, so it won't be turn in, turn off from 50
No, sir.
to 10.
No. And we've, part of our TRC review, even with a conditional rezoning, NCDOT is accommodating enough to make comments on our rezoning. They normally don't, but we have a very good relationship, and they shared it. And again, with it not having a driveway off NC 50, they have no comments, as Sea Oaks is a town-maintained street.
You mentioned on the storm sewer, what type of,
They would propose, and Mr. Riggs can correct me if I'm wrong, they'll be doing a subsurface in-the-ground stormwater controls, no pond.
'cause that lot's known to,
It is low, yes. And I believe development of the lot with a new stormwater system would improve that situation. It is not in the floodplain, but it is lower than the adjacent properties around it. The property, as you're looking at the plan before you, the property to the west is owned by the town. It is one of our pump stations, lift stations. Then directly across 50 is the new Cape Fear Seafood Rutopia development. To the north is Gilligan's. And to the south across Sea Oaks is, I believe it's Topsail Realty's office.
I make a motion to approve as staff.
Not a-
Yeah,
The planning board meeting is not a public hearing, but that is up to the board.
I mean, that's why we asked earlier if there was,
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought we would be able to, for each thing that was being approved, to be able to talk about it.
we're just
Fine.
going to do the podium.
Jimmy Campbell, 301 Triton Lane, Surf City, North Carolina. What is mixed use today? I thought mixed use has never been defined by the town, where you can have a business on the bottom and dwelling on top. I thought it was A or B.
No, that is the definition of a mixed-use
So it's
development.
changing.
Commercial and residential, residential above, commercial below, or if you wanted to do some type of other combination, but mixed-use building is just that.
When did that happen? Because when I was on the planning board, that was something that never was.
It's in the current ordinance.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great. And there is flooding in between where Gilligan's is, because during the storms, it's flooded to the road when it's floated the old boat up. That was there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
took the boat up. Remember the boat that was there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Riggs is going to fix that.
And I think it mentioned that this site plan would actually help alleviate some of that flooding by addressing that and making some actual storm water, so it would improve that flooding on that
That's the
lot.
intent of the stormwater in the
Yeah.
ordinance, is to improve the stormwater for that property, not to make it, they definitely cannot make it worse for any adjoining, but it would improve it for this development.
Okay, great.
So I have a first
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
I like that it's on seat. Makes it better.
Ready?
Next one.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Agenda item B is another conditional rezoning request. This is identified as the station. It is a proposed conditional rezoning to conditional or CZR5M. That would be conditional zoning residential manufactured home district. This has been submitted by Jeff and Noni Morris, and they've been working with their surveyor, Charles Riggs. This development is proposed on 82.56 acres located on US Highway 17 North. With that, you will see the site before you on the vicinity map on the screen and in your agenda packets. Currently, it is over 3 parcels. However, you'll note in the proposed conditions, they will be doing a recombination plat if approved because the current ordinance does not allow split zoning, so they would have to get that done if approved. With that said, other conditions they are proposing on this 82 acre development, which is proposed for RV campground, 417 sites, split in 2 phases. They want to limit it to the RV campground per Appendix A zoning ordinance, Section 5.7, accommodation uses, and we've copied those RV park standards into your staff report. They are numerous. I believe that is a new section in the town's zoning ordinance that requires some pretty hefty standards for the development of an RV park. And this is an RV park / campground. They are proposing a 20-foot natural buffer around all property lines that would be in place and then also associated with a nature trail. They will and do meet the threshold of a traffic impact analysis, and if they are approved, they would submit that in combination with their site plan review. Phase 1 is proposed to use town of Surf City water and septic system permitted by Pender County Environmental Health. Phase 2 shall use town of Surf City water and sewer, if available at that time, which that is proposed to be down the road some years. Again, the mention of the submitted recombination plat showing the lot configuration per their master plan, and then all the standards identified on their conditional plan. And that is the layout and design. Zoning of the property, as is the properties to the north, east, and south, the future land use designations are mainland residential. That's the same for the properties to the north, east, and south. Properties to the west are identified as neighborhood mixed use. This is the current zoning. You will note that this property was annexed in January of this year, and the designated zoning given to this property and the adjoining properties across 17 were C3 there, and then R10 for the remaining of the tract. And I believe they stated their intent to come back with a conditional zoning in a future date, and that future date is here. Before you on the screen is the concept plan, master plan for the conditional rezoning. Again, it identifies 417 RV campground sites. This is approximately a fourth of what they could do under the current ordinance. Current ordinance allows 20 sites per acre, and they're only proposing 417. If they were to maximize it and propose it, if the property were zoned R-5M and there was an outright campground, they could do up to 1,600 individual units, so they are significantly reduction. Again, site constraints, some existence of some non-jurisdictional wetlands, and town standards for an RV park limited. There on the site that will be converted to the clubhouse. That will also be installing some amenities for campground and RV park users. RV parks are not specifically listed in our comprehensive land use plan. But there are a number of policies that would support it. This plan in fact. Policy 3.2A talks about preservation and enhancement of water quality. They are designing it to lessen the impact of the non-jurisdictional wetlands on site. That it provides a transient accommodations to encourage tourism in the area. That's policy 5.1G. And that it supports the commercial development in the area, and RV campground itself, under our ordinance, acts more like a commercial type use than a residential because of its transient nature. With that being said, staff and the TRC have reviewed this concept plan. DOT has weighed in, and they support the condition of a TIA because the developer not only owns this track, but he owns some of the commercial track, or they own some of the commercial tracks along the front, and DOT, along with staff, would look at that as a common development. So when they do their traffic impact analysis, it will take those into account too for their highest and best use. Again, with that said, staff is making a recommendation of approval with policies 3.2A, 3.2K, 5.1A, 5.1G, and 5.1I identified in the CAMA Comprehensive Land Use Plan, being supportive of this request. The applicant, their surveyor, and staff are in attendance and happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Highway 17 to the side, I just can't tell it.
Yes, sir. There are two entrances currently proposed off of 17, and then they have obtained an access easement, 50-foot access easement onto Manhollow Church Road.
Is the septic called out on the site sketch?
Yes, it is.
Read it.
It is. Let's see here. I can zoom in here. It's a little blurry here, but when it calls it out there in the conditions over here to your left.
I mean, like just the general location.
I'm sorry. So your blue on your screen here before you, this blue area, that's phase 1.
Yep.
That would be your site's designed for septic. And then the red is the lower.
It doesn't have like the septic field location or anything called out.
No, not at this time. They haven't gone
And
through
is
that
it
design.
like a septic for each individual lot, or is it like a dump station like you see at
This
RV park?
Mr. Riggs may be able to speak more than that, but my experience with an RV park, it is a common dump, a facility where they would tie into some of the campgrounds that I've been involved with approval. They basically have a gray water dump where you would connect your camper to and drain it, and that's where it would go. And then they have a contractor that comes in and empty that routinely.
It's going to be pretty similar to the one out in Holly Ridge, the Ocean RV Resort.
I would leave that to the applicant to share, or Mr. Riggs.
Charles Riggs.
Is he manned tonight?
Street. This will have more trees, more landscaping. It's not going to be as packed, as dense as that project. Like Jeremy was saying, our density, our allowable density is 20 units per acre, and we're at 5 units per acre.
Like that.
Yeah. So,
It's a conditional use, right? They can't go back and change, that can't be changed.
Right, if they want to change anything of magnitude or significant, a major change, major modification, moderate modifications may be moving upon the pool here or adding another amenity. But to say if they wanted to increase the number of units, yes, 100%, they would have to come back through the conditional zoning process.
Keeping mobile home vehicle permanently there.
Yes, the way the standards are is you could not have a permanent residence here under the current RV campground standards. It's a lot of zoning rules are sometimes tricky from an enforcement stuff, but if we were to receive complaints or do inspections and realize, hey, this same one's been here for a month, we would contact the owner.
chance. Any more questions you might have? Concerns?
There.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we recommend approval.
I'll second.
So I have a first and a second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So Jeremy, would you like for me to read the motion option as approved, or?
No, ma'am, it's fine if you do the approval, then that's what carry over and that's what it'll be for the town council.
Okay.
Ready? Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Agenda item C, this was the corrected agenda item in your agendas. This is a third conditional rezoning request. This is for 46.4 acres spread over 5 parcels of land, submitted by Doug Medlin on behalf of Doug Medlin by McKim and Creed, his selected surveyor engineers. On the screen before you and in your agenda pack is a vicinity map showing the location of this development and the 5 parcels involved. Some of the board may recall that a few of these properties have recently been annexed, and there is a current annexation for the 2 lots here, and you'll see them as future development in the concept plan. They are slated to be considered for annexation by the town council in December, and they are being supported by the planning board under a recommended neighborhood business zoning. However, this request tonight for 46.4 acres is a conditional rezoning from R15 residential district, R10 residential district, and mixed use zoning district, and neighborhood business zoning. It is multiple zoning districts on this property. Their request is to rezone to CZMU, conditional zoning mixed use. I'm going to jump over to the zoning map so you'll see that puzzle pieces of zoning on this property. The light blue is the R15. It is bound by properties in Pender County's jurisdiction and zoned office and institutional to the far south, where the Moose Lodge properties are down right here. This property is residential performance. This is county zoning that I'm speaking to, and then to the north is residential performance. The R5 is similarly bound by properties in Pender County's jurisdiction. However, you'll note this sliver of mixed-use zoning to the north. There are mixed-use zoning to the south. Those are properties part of this project. And then to the south is a property in Town of Star City's jurisdiction, zoned neighborhood business. Backing up to the future land use plan, this property, along with the properties to the north and west, are identified as mainland residential. However, the 3 parcels along NC 50, and if I failed to mention that, I apologize, this project is located on NC 50 near the intersection of Belt Road. 2 of the larger tracts in this proposal are identified as mainland residential. However, the 3 smaller tracts along NC 50 are identified as neighborhood mixed use. Again, back to the zoning, the current zoning is R15, R5, mixed use, and neighborhood business. The request is to design a multi-family commercial mixed use subdivision for the master plan. You can see the proposed conditional rezoning master plan before you on the screen in your agenda packet. It will have a combination of multifamily buildings, mixed-use buildings that could have office below at the bottom, and then residential in the above, with a townhome development to the rear of the site. And in this case, the orientation of the master plan, your residential will be in that area currently zoned R15 and R5. Currently, most of the uses proposed would be supported by the current zoning, just not in this configuration. So that is why they are coming through and requesting a conditional rezoning to MU to apply a mixed-use zoning to this entire property to do a more planned-out, harmonious type of development with, again, a mix of residential, commercial, and office uses. Conditions on this proposal, it will most definitely trigger a traffic impact analysis. DOT and staff have already identified that, and we identified that early on in talking with McKim and Creed and Mr. Medlin. Maximum story of any building would be 3 stories. They will be providing a multi-use path, sidewalk across the frontage along NC50. Very similar to the project before this, they will be doing a recombination plat to combine all these properties to eliminate any potential building code issues with proximity to property lines. If approved, in the future, the townhome development would be subject to a subdivision process, just as the individual buildings on the front side of the property along NC50 would each be subject to site plan review. They are limiting the uses to single-family dwelling. It is a considerably long list, and I'm not going to bore the board reading all through them. They are in your agenda. But they have, to highlight, they have removed some of your more concerning uses, that being tattoo shops, vape shops. They are not proposed to be allowed in this zoning district. This would be your general retail, offices, personal and professional services such as hair salons, barbershops, medical offices, eating and drinking establishments, daycares, hotel, motel, bed and breakfast. However, the benefits of a conditional rezoning is seeing a master plan before you, and they've identified the uses of each building as is laid out here. And while they do have these conditions, like any master plan you've seen before you in this one, it will be locked to what you're seeing. Unless there is a significant departure through site plan review. Again, they've got, you will note that they've got several buildings on that plan identified as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then they identify the uses and the type of number of units, or if it's all residential or all office commercial. I provided the intent of all the underlying zoning districts that exist there now. However, the majority of it is either residential or mixed use. Going to our future land use plan, or our comprehensive land use plan, there are a number of policies in our land use plan that support this proposal. They have a significant amount of non-jurisdictional wetlands that they are protecting. They are not proposing to impact any of them. So that is supported by policy 3.2A, the preservation and enhancement of water quality, and policy 3.2K, protection of wetlands. They are proposing to use municipal services, sewer and water. Again, they will be mitigating traffic through a TIA, and that is policy 4.1Q of the land use plan. I believe the land use plan supports this rezoning in that it gives the board, both boards, this board and town council, the opportunity to look at a conditional zoning that brings harmony to this development as it impacts the surrounding residential and commercial. One of the sheets in your agenda and on the screen before you are some sample elevations of what the buildings could look like. Obviously, they have to meet the town's design guidelines in the zoning ordinance, that upscale coastal feel. but they did a fairly good job at identifying what mixed-use buildings could look like that meet or exceed our design standards. With all this said, staff is recommending approval of this request with policies 3.2A, 3.2K, 4.1A, 4.1Q, 5.1B, 5.1I, 5.1J, all supporting this request, and again, will be tied to those conditions that they've mentioned, as well as the master plan, as any conditional zoning would be. With all that said, staff and representatives of the applicant and the applicant stand ready to answer any questions that the board may have.
You said this was a phased master plan?
I will let them say that it is a mixed-use development, and I will let Mr. Medlin or McKim Creed respond to that.
Tara Murphy with McKim Creed on behalf of Doug and Kathy Medlin. We did show on the cover sheet a phased map with phase 1 being the residential townhomes in the back and the commercial units along Highway 50 is the anticipated phase 1 area.
Now, the access, by this, it shows 2 proposed connections.
We are showing 2 connections on NC Highway 50. One we're proposing as a right-in, right-out, and the other one would be a more full access movement. Obviously, the full extent of what those configurations are going to look like would happen as we went through the TIA process. We are also showing 2 stubs to adjacent properties for future connection.
What would phase 2 be?
I don't think we've fully identified the phase 2. What we've done is identified phase 1, which could be sub-phased, and then the remainder of the property is considered the phase 2 portion.
You have a tiny little projected phasing here on the cover sheet, top right.
And did you get any feedback from the neighborhood meeting on November?
The neighborhood meeting was very well attended, which was really nice. So yes, I mean, some people were questioning the townhomes instead of single family on the back portion, but the density is still rather low, even with the townhomes, and there's quite a big buffer because of the wetlands that we'd be preserving. One of the staff's recommended conditions is also doing a 20-foot type B buffer along the entire perimeter of the property. So there would be that buffer provided as well. Another, traffic was obviously a concern, and several people mentioned the heavy traffic nature during the summer months, with which I think that the season is extended. The season is all the time, it seems now. But we'll make sure that as part of the TIA process, that is all taken into consideration as to when our counts are done, et cetera. One of the other comments that we had was regarding schools, and it's the schools, Pender County Schools Board of Education's responsibility to plan for the students. We'd be happy to give them a copy of the plans as well, but they use population projections and other data to, project their facility needs.
And with that said, we have provided Pender County School Board with a copy of this project, like we do with any project they are copied on. When the planning board receives their agenda, they're also on that mailing list. And they've actually requested to receive them at the time of TRC, so we've added them to TRC.
Yep.
How many residential units will there be?
We are showing, I think, 64 townhomes, or 67 townhomes, and 104 multifamily, which would be more the condos, like over the mixed-use buildings. Let me just double-check that number.
Those would be condos for purchase, not apartments?
I'm not sure at this time. So we've got a total of 67 townhomes, and I believe it's 104 in the other multifamily buildings. 108, sorry.
Jeremy, is the adjacent property directly behind the townhomes, is that the Moose Lodge or is that a different track?
I think that's different. I think the Moose Lodge is like just below where the blue and the yellow.
This right here, the Moose Lodge track goes all the way back here. It's large. In fact, I think please correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows, I believe there's some hunting that goes on out there this time of year. But this rear portion is, on this map where I'm circling there, that's the Moose Lodge property. And I am sorry, do not remember who owns this property.
Not the applicant's property?
No.
As with any new residential property or project, the residential units would have to go on the sewer
Yeah,
wait list, right? Where's David Price at?
right.
No, David.
Well, I was going to say, let's
Come on up.
ask Mr. Price.
Under the wastewater allocation policy, if 30% of the mixed use is commercial, the whole project is considered commercial and comes out of commercial bank.
Commercial bank big enough?
It is. Now, depending on timing, they may not be able to get sewer because they might be put on the wait list anyways, because we might run out of commercial capacity. It just all depends on site plan approval.
Is there a way to make sure that the commercial is done first so it doesn't turn into just a residential?
Not under current policy, but the wastewater allocation policy is up for review and alteration in the December meeting, and it will be altered, I'm sure.
But it can be insured with, designated phasing.
Well, I would say the board could ask them if they're willing to make a condition on that.
So it could be
I
insured.
like that.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do that?
You're looking to condition phase one to doing the commercial buildings out along Highway 50 before the townhomes, like, so phase 1A would be the the commercial buildings along 50? Am I understanding correctly?
That's all commercial or just?
Well, some of those are, the three up front are commercial. I mean, that is definitely within your purview if you want to structure the condition like that. It does add a layer of complexity to it, but that is why the planning board exists, to identify where you think conditions are appropriate and then work with the applicant. That way it makes you more comfortable with every recommendation that you give when we get to the town council level.
And I think that part of the reason why we did the townhomes in back as part of the phase one is sometimes the rooftops generate the interest for some of the commercial. And so if we were, able to do the commercial buildings up front and maybe start a couple of the townhome units to help balance that upfront cost of development, that might be a consideration. Would you be willing to?
Yes.
And you may identify a comparable ratio as you bring commercial on, then that gains, we could look at that. That may be something we can look at, but that.
2 townhomes for every commercial.
But I think it would be appropriate, with the number of commercial and mixed-use buildings, if you identified a certain portion of those, maybe within their phase one total, that, the commercial happened first, and then, like she said, a 1A, and then you have the phase 1B, which would be the residential. 1A happens first, and then your 1B.
We can start with the commercial if that's what you want on the front.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what's called out already. I mean,
If that's what you want to start it, we'll do that.
I would like that.
And then,
The 3 buildings on the road, 1A, and then the townhomes in the back, 1B.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then go to the back.
Which is essentially what you already have called out, just prioritizes the order.
Right. I mean, we were figuring there'd probably be a sub-phase in that phase 1 portion anyways.
We can get that map updated
Yeah, you
before
got
it gets
it.
to council.
Yeah, when would you need it by? Yeah, we'll get it.
We got plenty of time.
We'll get it, yes.
Got to realize I am hard of hearing. That's the reason I'm not up there anymore.
We know, we know.
And, so anyway, I don't hear everything that's said. But, I mean, my whole idea is to build something that Surf City will be proud of. And then too, I'm not going to get it passed and then turn around and sell it. It's going to be developed, and it will eventually belong to my kids and my grandkids. So that's who will own it. And so it's going to be a nice development.
Did you want
When I went to her, I told her I wanted something like Mayfair. So that's what they're working with.
tree-lined streets, parallel parking, you know, mixture of uses so you can live, work, walk, ride your bike, open spaces, nicely landscaped, the character images that you saw, you know, so, yeah. Yep. Did you want to speak to the operating hours condition?
Yes, the only thing I know, and probably you'll recognize this, is I think you had it from, what was the hours?
7 a.m. to 9 p.m., I think.
But anyway, restaurants down here have to operate a little bit later because during the summertime, people don't even come off the beach till 7, 8 o'clock. Isn't that right? And so they're eating late. So you can't close up at 7 o'clock at night in a restaurant. You know, you have to stay open later.
So those conditions that were in there, that was the carryover, that
Do
was
what?
not, that was not recommended, that was not recommended with this. I apologize.
Oh, it wasn't?
Okay,
No,
so
no.
our
Okay.
staff conditions are the type B buffer.
That's right, the same ones that were in the front half of the staff report, that's what's
Oh,
recommended.
okay.
So
All
two,
right.
are they two then? The type B buffer and then the,
No, there's multiple, we took your narrative,
Okay.
all those conditions, the only one we added was the 20-foot buffer.
oh, okay.
Well, I think that one thing, I misunderstood the
Yeah,
hours.
me
That was,
too,
again,
sorry.
that was the error that I corrected.
Oh,
again.
okay.
Gotcha.
Gotcha
Thank
covered.
you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And I can read through the conditions.
No, that's fine.
If the board
All
needs
the rest of
clarity.
the conditions that you put on me was
Were
fine.
the ones you were-
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Was,
okay.
I mean, like I say, I want this to be a nice development. I want it to be something that Surf City will be proud of. So that's what I'm working for.
Thank you.
And the board will see these again in the shape of site plans and subdivisions. Anything over 20,000 square feet requires to go through the planning board and town council, and major subdivisions are required to go through planning board and town council. So this conditional rezoning is just the first step.
What is the reasoning for the 1A, 1B zoning, phasing? Can't we just do phase 1, 3 buildings up front, phase 2, residential in the back?
I think that's the way it's probably kind
Is that
of
just simpler to do it that way, or?
maybe very well if you want to amend that condition and say phase 1 on the commercial, phase 2 residential, then the remaining phase 3,
Yeah,
you know.
I think that's a lot simpler.
We have to make a motion that way.
Whenever you make your motion, you would say the identified conditions in the staff report with the added condition that you stated.
I'll make a motion that we approve it with the identified conditions in the staff report and the added conditions of a phase 1 commercial with a phase 2 residential and then a phase 3. What are they planned next? Does that cover you?
That's for when you say phase 1 commercial, that's the 3 commercial along 50. Residential, the townhome in the rear, and then the remaining mixed-use buildings.
I'll second that.
I have a first and a second for approval based on the conditions presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Project is approved.
Ready, ma'am?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm
No
ready.
problem. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the planning board. This fourth and final item is agenda item D. It is for a proposed major site plan, Hampton Inn Hotel. Notice before you on the screen, the vicinity map showing the location. This is on an existing out parcel, not your typical out parcel out by the road, but it is an identified out parcel in the Promenade Shopping Center, immediately adjacent to the Walmart Neighborhood Market. It is north of the almost completed Bishop's Creek Phase 2 apartments. And this property currently accesses directly to the 210 Fun Center Drive intersection. This proposal for a hotel is a 65,441 square foot hotel, 110 rooms, on 2.2 acres, zoned C3 extended commercial. Hotels and motels are a right by use in this zoning district. So that's why it's before you as a major site plan, because it is over 20,000 square feet, but it is a use by right. Again, the property is zoned C3, as is the property to the north, which is a stormwater pond. Again, to the east is the Walmart Neighborhood Market. To the south is the Bishop's Creek apartment complex. To the west is future Coretta Drive extension and undeveloped property, which will be part of the future proximity apartments, which has already been approved by the town. Backing up to the future land use plan, while the use is allowed in the zoning district, I always think for a major site plan, it's beneficial to show the land use plan, just showing that it identifies the property as neighborhood mixed use, as is the majority of all properties in the area. The yellow identified on Coretta Drive is just a GIS remnant. It shouldn't be identified as anything. And then of course, you have the coastal residential to the far east of the existing Deer Run subdivision area. Quickly, we'll hop over to the major site plan, which is in your staff report. This is before you on the screen. It'll have two driveways on the internal Fun Center Road. Fun Center Drive is a driveway. It is not a street. It is not maintained by the town, but it operates very similar to a street as it is the internal access to the shopping center. Again, this is a proposed 65,000 square foot hotel, 3 stories. This is the site plan before you. It has been through at length through TRC. DOT has shared comments and shared information that a hotel was identified in the original traffic improvement or traffic impact analysis for the Promenade Shopping Center. And staff's research has found that from day one when Promenade developed, that this property was identified for a future hotel site since the inception of the Promenade development. And in fact, they have done stormwater design and design internally to the shopping center to accommodate. Normally with a site plan, if it's in front of the board, it has made it through TRC and is up to you as a recommended of approval. It has been my stance, if it's in front of you, it's obviously staff is recommending approval. That's why it's in front of you. So with that said, the applicants who are Glenwood East Properties, they are represented from Surf City Hotel Group, John and Jack Sandlin. They, along with staff, will be happy to answer any questions that the board has in making this recommendation to the town council.
Pervious requirements for the parking area or anything?
So that was actually a big point of discussion in the site plan review at TRC. And staff is actually prepared in your staff report a lot coverage assessment. Currently under the current zoning ordinance, lot coverage in the C3 district is limited to 50%. As designed and proposed, this project actually identifies a 70% lot coverage. However, given the multitude of approvals that this shopping center has gotten, the substantial improvements, the ongoing stormwater plan, they have a vested right under 160D-108 and 108.1 that they have a number of financial investments and designs for the site to accommodate that they could be subject to the ordinances that were in place at the time of their approval.
Sounds like you've already been asked that. Sounds like you've already been asked that question.
I have. I asked it myself because I brought it up during TRC and knew it was a bone of contention, but working with the original developers of the shopping center and some ad nauseum discussions with planners across the state and the couple of responses from the School of Government shared the vested right aspect. And this was recently put in with the adoption of 160D in 2019 for this very issue, where you have a project that is going to develop over many, many years, and they make a significant and substantial improvement on stormwater design, erosion control, infrastructure improvements, that their long-term plans could not be subjugated by new standards, so to speak. Staff had worked with them, proposed, could they do pervious design concrete? It would be a significant impact on the already designed stormwater permit. At this point, it's 20% additional in the C3. Keep in mind, too, that the C1 zoning district, which is our downtown zoning district, allows 100% lot coverage, and that's the island. So C3, being our more intense and dense commercial zoning, actually has a stricter lot coverage. With that being said, I'm not saying that we look at an amendment to the ordinance. I think it's appropriate in giving current development trends across the state and across the eastern North Carolina. But given the substantial improvements that they've done for the Promenade Shopping Center over the years and the continual renewal of that stormwater permit, I believe they have my finding is that they have a substantial legal vesting for the current lot coverage as proposed. To the north is the stormwater pond. To the south, that's the stormwater pond for Hudson Bishop's Creek apartment complex.
And the orientation matches the Walmart, like it's facing the same way.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And with that said, I will flip over to the proposed elevations. These are slightly revised from the ones that are in your staff report, where they had to bring in some of the red brick that you see along a lot of the promenade buildings and some of the common stucco color. However, they preserved very well, I believe, the aesthetic of of a coastal looking hotel on the mainland. They have the developers have developed several Hampton Inns, and I believe this is really nice looking and is very suitable for the area.
Could you tell us how many stories it will be?
It is, I'm sorry, it is, I said 3 stories. I believe it is 3 stories, correct? It's 4. It's 4. It meets the maximum height allowances. However, they do have some design elements in their parapet wall do extend above that 48-foot height limitation, but that's allowed by ordinance.
What's the latest on DOT with that road coming all the way through? I mean, you might
Talking
have.
about Coretta? So Coretta is actually, DOT would not be doing that. They've identified that won't be part of a future project that they would be responsible for. But if you recall, Proximity Apartments, when they were approved by the town council, one of their conditions was the Coretta Drive extension had to happen. So Proximity Apartments, working with Paramount Engineering in Wilmington, is currently designing Coretta Drive. They are going to install it as part of their development.
You have time frame?
They have a ticking time clock to start digging to keep maintain, and Mr. Price can correct me if I'm wrong, but to maintain their sewer allocation. I believe it was 9 to 12 months. So they're currently designing it. They had to get their location of Coretta Drive kind of checked off by the town and DOT, but they're currently doing that. We haven't gotten that submittal, but we will be reviewing that soon, I'm sure.
Prior to receiving their first CO.
That, I believe it just needs to come in as, yes, but yes, it would be their, that's typically a way a site improvement works is prior to their first CO.
Will there be access from that road to the hotel as well, or just in the parking lot?
Came up during TRC as well, and I apologize for this. So when Coretta Drive comes through, we will work with Proximity to provide a crossover connection there. That's why the Hampton Inn is providing a stub out here, and it will be there. And then part of their site plan approval is to provide a cross-access easement. So when Coretta Drive comes through, the issue there is there are some jurisdictional wetlands through there that they are trying to avoid. That's why DOT decided not to do it because of the cost. And so now Proximity is now redirecting it away from those wetlands, which pushes it further away from this development. But we will work with them. I cannot guarantee it. The Hampton Inn is doing their part now. If the road was in place now, we would have a bone to say, make that connection, but it is not in place. But they have provided the stub out, and they will be providing an access easement.
And you said it about 4 times, but it is a by right project.
By right, yes. And the C3 hotels and motels are permitted by right. It is in front of this board because it is over 20,000 square feet.
I'll make a motion. We recommend approval as submitted.
A second.
I have a first and a second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Project is approved.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know at our last meeting I was going to bring forth our land use plan update stuff, job growth corridor, but given the sheer weight of this agenda, I decided to postpone those for a future meeting, the December meeting. So please don't abandon me when we get there. I definitely, if I've got to have some holiday entree or something to entice you to come, but I really want to get that job growth stuff hammered down and get that recommended to council. Because I believe that's an important thing in our land use plan to get updated.
Are there any other updates?
Yes, ma'am.
Projects?
November 5th, Town Council approved and adopted a new technical specifications manual that basically governs construction in the town of Surf City. It provides construction methods and details as projects develop. I shared that with a number of engineers and developers and surveyors that we work with routinely. This is a pretty common and standard thing that towns do now, as it more often than not, when you have a development comes in, your engineer will ask, well, how do we build that sidewalk to your standards? Well, now we have a manual that you pull that detail and you look and how is it installed? So many feet thick, location, distance from the right of way, on the property, where at location. It's a very helpful tool, not just for planning, but for utilities and streets in helping us review and being more consistent across the board. The hotel development, they had already taken into account a lot of those details and those specifications even prior to its adoption. So going forward, any submittals will have to adhere to those technical specifications. You're welcome to look at them. Some of them I'm sure will be very complicated. Even as a planner, I don't understand some of the sewer and utility stuff. I work with it enough. I know where it goes. I know what it's appropriate for. But it's on the community development's website, and it's all there for you if you want to look at it. Or if someone asks you, "Hey, does the town have specifications?" That's where they're at now. Other than that, ma'am, I do not have anything else.
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.